formula, the standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. You need to put it in this form, and it needs to equal 0. And the quadratic formula is written there for you, which you do not have to memorize. Okay? So here are the steps outlined for you. There are 2 problems, right? We're going to start with the one on the left. Okay? All right, so this problem, 3x squared plus 8x minus 3 equals 0. Your first step should always be put it in standard form and make it equal to 0. Is it?
No.
Yeah. So we just copy it over. All right. Now identify your A, B, and C. Word of advice, your A, B, and C should never have an X in it. It should always be numbers. So A is what? 3. Good. B and C? -3. Good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to plug it into this formula. So X equals opposite B. Opposite of what your B is, which is what? -8 plus or minus the square root of. And guys, whenever you plug in your B, A, and C, use parentheses, okay? It will, especially inside the square root. So B squared, B is 8, minus 4AC, all over 2A. Yeah? Yeah? Question?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
All right. So now, I'm going to look at the next part. All right, so that's carried over, right? It says simplify the b squared minus 4ac. Guys, that's basically b squared minus 4ac is all of this inside the square root, right? So you can literally put that into the calculator. Don't put the square root in. Just put the stuff that's inside the square root. Tell me what you get here. Parentheses and everything, okay? All right, so this equals 100, right? So what we're basically doing is we're gonna plug in 100 inside the square root. X equals -8 plus or minus square root of 100 all over 2a. What's 2 times 3?
6.
Yeah, let's just do that now.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You want us to do that on 5 or okay?
I'll just do it the way I'm doing it. You know, just can be between, doesn't matter, wherever you have room. Because that's more of like a side note for you, so that you know where that 100 goes. It goes inside the square root. So the whole purpose with quadratic formula, when you guys go to solve it, you want to try to condense it and make it as small as possible so that it's not so overwhelming, right? It's a lot of stuff. Okay, so number 5, you need to simplify your square root. This guy right here, square root of 100. Yeah, that's a perfect 10. It's a perfect square. So now you have, okay, so we'll make a note. Square root of 100 equals 10. So that means x equals -8 plus or minus 10 all over 6. Right? Okay. So now it's starting to look a little bit different. Look at the quadratic formula set up in red and look at where we are now. Right? All right, so now Step 6 says divide 2a to everything and simplify. The reason why I underline everything is you actually want to take this and just break it up. -8 plus or minus 10 all over 6 means that every single term has to be divided by 6. Okay? Questions? All right. So then, hold on. Do you need this?
Yes.
So that is what you have in step 6. Now, when you look at step 7 and 8, you have a choice. You're not going to do both. You're going to choose one. So step 7 says if there is no square root left, you need to find your two final answers. Step 8 says if there is a square root left, try to simplify all your fractions. Which one are we doing, 7 or 8? 7. We don't have a square root left. It turned into a 10, so we don't want 8. We're going to do step 7, right? It says find your two final answers. What does that mean? This plus or minus means you're actually doing two different operations. So you have x equals -8 over 6 plus 10 over 6. And you have x equals -8 over 6 minus 10 over 6. Does that make sense? And you have to simplify. You have to do the step. So what is that? What's -8/6 plus 10/6? -4/3.
Yeah. -8
Huh?
I don't know.
Would you do a cause or?
Yeah, they have the same denominator, right? So it's 2/6, which is 1/3. But how about the other one? -8 over 6 minus 10 over 6. Yeah, -18/6, which is so x equals, and in your solution set, you're going to put -3, 1/3. Okay? And those are your two final answers. You can only you can only use the quadratic formula if your biggest exponent is a 2. If it's a 3, you cannot use the quadratic formula because it's not quadratic, okay? All right. Let's look at the second one. So the second one says 6p squared plus 3 equals 8p. Is this equal to 0? Is it in standard form? No. What do I need to do? Minus the 8p. So 6p squared minus 8p plus 3 equals 0. Yes? Questions? Okay, so next we need to identify our A, B, and C. So A equals, B equals, and C equals. What is A? 6. What is B? And C. Good. Now, let's plug it in. X equals opposite B. What is the opposite of your B?
8.
8. Good. And you know, the reason why I don't say negative B is because I think it just helps a little bit if you just say opposite B. So it's going to be the opposite anyway. Right? So if your B was a negative gives you a positive. It's positive and negative, right? Alright, so all I did was plug it into the formula. Did I do it right? Alright. So I'm going to take this guy. Let's copy it over. It's amazing. Smart board, isn't it? Gosh, I love this thing. You can do so much. Alright. So now it says simplify the b squared minus 4ac. That's the stuff that's inside the square root, right? There we go. So that is negative 8 squared minus 4 times 6 times 3. What is that? Is it negative 8? Anybody else get negative 8? Good. It is negative 8. Good. If you did not get negative 8, please say something, okay? Because you need to make sure that you know how to plug this into the calculator correctly. Mm-hmm. With the parentheses and everything. Okay? Because, guys, if you do not use the parentheses, especially around your b, when it's a negative b, you're going to get a completely different answer. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this over and put square root of negative 8 all over. What's 2 times 6? 12. Okay? Alright, it says simplify the square root. Okay, so just the square root. Let's simplify that. That means I'm looking at this guy right here. Square root of negative 8. Oh, there's a negative inside. What comes out? I. So is I root 8. Is 8 a prime number? No. So how do we break down 8? Is what times what? Okay. So I can't break down the 2, but I can break down the what? 4. 4, it breaks down into 2 times 2. Now, how many do I need in the group to come out?
1.
Okay, 2, but then 1 comes out, right? Yes. All right, so 2 in the group, but only 1 comes out. What was already out? And the I. What happens to that lonely 2? Still stays inside. So the square root of negative 8 turns into 2i root 2. So you know what? I'm going to plug it in. X equals 8 plus or minus 2i root 2 all over 12. Is everyone still with me? Now, number 6, divide 2a to everything and simplify. Well, divide 2a to everything means I'm going to split up my fraction, right? So I have x equals 8 plus or minus 2i root 2. Divide that 12 to everything. Okay? Yeah? Okay, so I'll leave it here for a second, okay? Alright, so here's where we are, and now we have steps 7 and 8. So now let's look at this. Step 7 says, if there is no square root left. Well, we have a square root, right? So we need to do step 8, because step 8 says, if there is a square root left. Okay, so I'm going to cross out 7. That doesn't apply to my problem. Since there is a square root left, we need to try to simplify all of our fractions. Okay. So then this guy Here's what you can simplify. First of all, this fraction. What's 8 over 12? 2/3. So x equals 2/3. And don't forget the plus or minus, right? Because it is two answers. Now, here it gets a little weird when you have a square root, right? But you see these outside numbers, so outside the square root and your number on the bottom, they can simplify, okay? You can't simplify anything inside the radical with your denominator when it's not also inside the radical. What is 2 over 12? 1/6. Okay, so 1/6. But what's still on top? What? Yeah. Okay. So then you know what? Can you combine those two together? Are they the same thing? No. One of them is an I. The other one is no. Right? This is an imaginary. This is a complex number. So you could leave it like this, and this could be your answer. Or you can say 2/3 plus or minus. Do I have to write this one? No. I√2 over 6. Or you can write that just without the 1. Okay? A lot of steps. I know. All right. Here's a simpler topic. So, you know this right here, b squared minus 4ac, the stuff that's inside the square root, that has a special name and it also has a special job. That is called the discriminant. All right? And when you guys plug in your b and your a and your c and you calculate it, right? If that number is greater than 0, tell me, what kind of numbers are greater than 0?
1,
1. What else?
2,
2,
3,
3. What type of numbers are those?
positive.
Positive. I don't care what the number is. If you plug in b squared minus 4ac and you get a positive number, that means that this equation, when you go to solve it, it has two real solutions. You have to memorize the spots, okay? But it's actually not that bad. If it's a positive number, then it has two real. If, when you plug it in, you get 0, then the equation has one real. Okay? But if you plug in b squared minus 4ac and you get a number that's less than 0, what kind of numbers are less than 0? No, not imaginary. Negative. If you get a negative number, but look, it's related, then that means you have two imaginary solutions. Because you're right, Mitchell, right? Then you would get a negative inside the square root, meaning you get an I, right? So if you plug in your b, a, and c into your discriminant, and you get a positive, that means you have how many and what type of solutions? 2 real. How about if you get 0? 1 real. How about if you get a negative number? 2 imaginary. Can you memorize this? Yes. Thank you, Mitchell. Yes. All right. Recording, FYI. Okay. So just make sure you guys pay attention to the directions, because sometimes they'll say solve. Sometimes they'll say just find the discriminant and tell how many and what type of solutions. Here it says find the discriminant and give the number and type of solutions. That's all we're doing with these, okay? Remember, your discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Okay? Alright, so when you do this, you still need to make it equal to 0, and you still have to give me the standard form. So a has x squared minus 6x plus 10 equals 0. Is it in standard form? Alright, so let's go and get our a, b, and c. What is a? 1. What is b? Okay, and what is c? Alright, are we here? Okay, I feel like I'm moving a little bit fast again. Alright, so now we're going to plug it into this guy, the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac. Please plug this in and tell me what you get. Everyone should plug it in to make sure that you know how to do this. -4. -4. Good. Should be -4. Thank you, Peter Scholl. Yes, thank you, Peter Scholl. Not -26. -4. Alright. So, if it's -4, what does that tell me about how many and what type of solutions? Good. It's a negative number. That means we have 2 imaginary. Good job. Do letter B, please. Alright. So the discriminant for B is 0. Is that right? Okay. 1, 14, and 49. 14 squared minus 4ac, you're right, is 0. So if my discriminant is 0, what does that tell me about the number and type of solution? Good. 1 real. Good job. So let's look at C together. How many terms does C have? Only 2, but we need 3. Which term is it missing? Yeah, the bx term, right? Alright, so since it's missing that one, you know what? We can fill it in. We can say plus 0 r minus 3 equals 0. Because 1 is actually something, but 0 is nothing. And in the original, if it was 1, it would say 7r squared plus 1r. But you don't have anything there, so it has to be 0. Alright, so find the discriminant, please. What'd you get?
84.
Positive? Alright, so if I have a positive 84 as my discriminant, what does that tell me about the number and type of solution? 2 real. Good. Alright, so let's try some more. We're going to try example 1. Now this says solve using the quadratic formula. Here's the thing though, guys. Down at the bottom it says, what is the discriminant? What are the solutions? And it says, what are the nature of your solutions, right? So while we're solving this, when we go to find the discriminant, we have to remember to fill in that blank, okay? So, all right, is it in standard form and is it equal to 0? Yeah. All right. So we have A equals, B equals, and C equals. What is A? Good, -1. What is B? And C. Good job. All right. So I'm going to plug this in. X equals opposite. Do you need me to write this formula again?
Yes.
Yeah. So X equals opposite B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A.
Oh, that one.
So X equals opposite B, which is what? 2, plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4AC. What? No. I know, negative gives you what? That's why I keep saying opposite B, because it's always going to be the opposite B. Alright, all over 2A. Now, I wrote the discriminant in green. So you know what? Let's find the discriminant. What is that? -44. Okay, so, you know what? Alright, did anyone else get -44?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright, so then for the discriminant, I'm going to put -44. Because I'm going to fill in some of the stuff as I'm working, right? Since it's a negative number, what does that tell me about 2 imaginary? So I'm going to write that here. 2 imaginary. Okay? And then let's rewrite this. So I have x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of -44 all over, what's 2 times -1? -2. So now, guys, we need to simplify the square root of -44. So you see how there's this little space over here to the right? That's where you guys are going to simplify your radical. Square root of -44. Okay, I comes out, and then it's what? 2 times what? 22. Okay. So then the I is still out there. The 2 can come down, but the 22 breaks down into what times what? 11 and what? 2 times 11, okay. Can I break any of those down? No. Do I have 2 of the same? Yeah. So one of those can come out. So now it's 2 I root 11. Okay. So let's rewrite this, but instead of square root of -44, we're going to write it as 2I root 11. Oh, and then all over -2, right? Let's separate it now. -2, -2. Okay? And then let's simplify. Guys, what is 2 divided by -2? -1. Plus or minus. And what can I simplify here? 2 and the -2, which is what? Okay. So -1 I root 11. You know, if you leave it like this, this is fine. Okay? Technically, you don't need this extra negative right here because you have a plus or minus in front of it. What's a plus of negative? Well, I mean, it could be positive, it could be negative, right? But what's negative? positive. So since you have both of them, I mean, you could leave this out. It doesn't matter. You could use a stop here. This is it. Alright? So then your solutions, you would basically just be writing this in your solutions. But if you clearly label your solutions, you don't have to copy it over, okay? Or you could draw an arrow, that's fine. Any questions? Not so bad, right? Alright, let's try the next one then. You guys are gonna have time for this mini quiz. Oh yeah, so much time. Okay, let's try number 2. We'll review. Is this in standard form? No, it's not equal to 0. So let's make it equal to 0. I'm going to subtract this 3x. 0 equals 2x squared minus 3x minus 8. Now I'm going to figure out the discriminant. $73. All right. Good. Positive number. What does that tell me about my solutions? 2 real. Good. I need to break down square root of 73. 73 is an odd one. It's not even, so it's not divisible by 2. Not divisible by 4. I don't think it's divisible by 3 either.
It's not divisible by 8.
So it's not divisible by 6. Yep, nothing. 73 is a prime number. Okay? And in order to see what times what gives you 73, you could also plug this into your calculator. Go to y equals 73 divided by x, and you can see all the factors for it. And it's just 1 in 73. So, then can you simplify 3 over 4? No. So you know what? You could leave it like this, or just get into the habit of splitting up your fraction. And there you go. Are these 2 real solutions? Yeah. 3/4 plus the square root of 73 over 4 and 3/4 minus the square root of 73 over 4 is 2 solutions. Are there any i's there? No, so it's real. Okay? How is this? Difficult? No.
Long.
It is long. Alright, let's look at number 3. Ugh. Is that in standard form? No, change it. So you want to take this guy first, 2x squared. Make sure you get the sign in front of that term that you're looking at. So minus 6x, and then minus 9 equals 0. Okay, I want you guys to try this, please. Alright, so I'll do my work up here, and you guys can compare. Are we okay so far? Alright. I'll take this 108. Yes? Did you break it all down? Should have 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. That's okay, but you still need to break down the 6 and you need to break down. So your final numbers, your final prime numbers should be 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. Yeah? Okay? Listen, there's so many different methods, like different numbers that you can choose, and this is perfectly fine. You just have to make sure that your prime numbers are good. Alright, so I have a pair of 2s, so one of those comes out. Pair of 3s, so one of those comes out, and this lonely 3 needs to stay inside. So this really becomes 6 root 3. Yes? Yes?
Yeah, 4 root 5.
Yeah, 4 root 5. Do you know what that's 16 times 5?
I think I split up the 10.
You got 80. So you gave me an 80, square root of 80. Something happened. After 108,
I did 5 times 2 because I split it up into 10 and 8 from 108.
no, 10 times 8 is 80. Alright, so let's fix that, okay? Alright, so then this becomes what, Hugh? Hmm? X equals, what is this? 3 halves plus or minus, oh, look at that, 6 over 4. Those are the ones that you can simplify together. That's another 3 halves. And don't forget to bring your square root of 3 over, right? Do you have 2 real solutions? Yes, because you don't have i's, right? And you better put that plus or minus. Do not leave out that plus or minus and put a comma in between them. It's not right. 1105. Yeah. All right. So I think you guys are pretty good. So with these problems, we're going back to solving by square roots, right? These are just example problems that I'm giving you before your mini quiz on solving square roots, using the square roots. So remember, if you have parentheses squared, that's what you want to get all by itself, right? Once you have your squared term all by itself, well, listen, I want to solve for that x, but I got to get rid of the square. How do you get rid of the square?
Distribute.
Write it down and then distribute.
No, don't ever distribute. square root. And you can't distribute this exponent anyway. This means x minus 5 times x minus 5. You square root. And whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side. Plus or minus, good. Whenever you draw the square root, you gotta put plus or minus. Thank you, Peter. Redeem yourself just a little bit from the last debacle. Alright. X minus 5 equals plus or minus square root of 9. Good. I was gonna give Carlos a chance to redeem himself, but yes, plus or minus 3. Distribute. Get distribute out of your minds. Not distributing. Good. Add 5. But if you add this 5 to the other side, where does it go? Where does it go, Jenny? In front of the plus or minus. So x equals 5 plus or minus 3. Are you going to stop here? You need to separate this. This is really 5 plus 3 and 5 minus 3. What is 5 plus 3?
8.
What is 5 minus 3? So x equals 2 comma 8. What's wrong, Hugh? It is too real. Alright. Okay, let's look at the second one. Remember, you're trying to get that x squared term all by itself. What should you do first? No. Yeah, add 128. So now you have 4x squared equals 128. You're still trying to get this x squared all by itself. What should you do? No, it's not all by itself. Divide by 4. Thank you, Jenny. X squared equals what? What is 128 divided by 4? 32. Now that I have x squared all by itself, I need to get x all by itself. Square root it. When you draw the square root, gotta put plus or minus. Good. So x equals plus or minus square root of 32. Huh, is 32 a prime number? Oh, it's not prime, it's not prime. No. So you need to simplify this guy. 32 is what times what? 2 times 16. And 16 can be broken down into what? 4 times 4. So this is pretty interesting. I know 4 is not a prime number, but aren't we always trying to look for 2 of the same?
Yeah.
So if you already have 2 of the same right here, you can just take it out right there. Okay? It's probably a good shortcut too. So 4 comes out. Root what? So then x equals plus or minus 4 root 2. Do you agree? All right, now you're ready for the mini quiz.